You've made it to lesson 13. You're just one lesson shy. And I know somebody else who has a lucky number 13. 13 used to be a bad number, right? But somebody's made a lot of money with 13. So I don't think I'm going to make that much money. But I do hope that this lesson will enable you to understand the concepts that I'm planning to introduce, which is taking your Ecamm content and going to other platforms. We've been focusing on YouTube because it's easy and YouTube is designed to accept video content. These other platforms like Zoom and Instagram, and we'll look at Facebook, but I just, thing about Facebook is that it's always changing. It's almost like they're bored at Facebook and they want to make things harder for people like us to put our live content on there. So, and for some reason, Instagram's fine. The same company nowadays, but whatever the case may be, we're going to focus on not only going to other platforms, but what happens when you go from a landscape orientation like I am right now to a portrait orientation. And what does that mean? Can it be done in Ecamm? And how can you maybe do both at the same time? Well, you can. So let's go ahead and take a look at how that all works. And then when we wrap this lesson up, we're going to be preparing for our final lesson, which is going to be, it's not going to be a party of sorts, but it will be something for you to look forward to. It's going to be a little bit lower key, but at the same time, it's like the last day of school, but without playing hooky, because you got to attend to get the full package. All right. Let's get going with our first interview. At the heart of utilizing Ecamm outside of its platform, what you can do inside Ecamm, whether it's streaming to YouTube or to Facebook or Instagram even, is using its audio and visual capabilities and other tools like Zoom, like MS Teams, Discord. I'm sure a lot of you who are viewing this series have needs for being able to use the features of Ecamm inside those other tools. The way that it's done inside Ecamm is actually, it's pretty simple. It's called a virtual camera and a virtual mic. Well, what does that mean exactly? Virtual camera, virtual mic. It's an overly complicated way just to say Ecamm video is what is called the virtual camera. And then Ecamm's audio, which means everything coming out of Ecamm, including sound effects and music and that kind of stuff, that is the virtual microphone. So when you're using Ecamm to do your audio-visual production, you're going to want to use both of these tools. Some instances, you just want the video capabilities from Ecamm, so then you would just use the virtual camera. If you wanted to, say for instance, you have a Zoom phone call. Is it called a phone call these days? I don't know. But you have a Zoom call. That's it. That's what it's called, Zoom call. You have a Zoom call arranged, and you don't need any of the audio effects from Ecamm. Well, you don't need to use the microphone from Ecamm. You can use the microphone directly from the microphone source, whether it be an external microphone hooked up, which you should be using, or something that's built in somewhere, which you should not be using. But I understand sometimes you have limitations. I get it. So that's the essential of how that works. Now let me show you how this is set up inside of Ecamm real quick. Now looking at, you can see that right now what I've got is just, the scene that we set up before. This is the one we've been running with the whole time. And so how do you get this to do anything? How do you know that you're using these functions? Ecamm's virtual camera or virtual mic, which, by the way, are part of the trial, but they are not part of the standard version. So once you decide that you're going to subscribe to Ecamm, these are considered professional features. So just keep that in mind. But if you go to the output pull-down menu inside Ecamm, and you go to virtual camera here, you can see that it's ready. Now, when you install Ecamm, Ecamm does have an option to install the virtual camera. I just do it. It's not going to affect your system's performance in any way, especially if you're not using it anywhere. If Ecamm's off, then the virtual camera won't show up inside any of your other platforms anyway. But if Ecamm's on, the resources that are already consumed by Ecamm won't impact anything else that's happening inside of your Mac to be anyway. So I wouldn't worry about it. And then the virtual mic, and then again, that's set to ready. And you can uninstall this. If for some reason you're having problems, support might ask you to uninstall these and then reinstall them. Sometimes that's necessary if you're having weird quirkiness issues. Maybe the install went bonkers on you or something like that. Whatever the case may be, you can go here and there are various ways to install and uninstall the features inside of Ecamm. But what'll happen here is that you'll have options to install the virtual camera later if you uninstall it. So don't worry about if you're not going to lose it forever. It's still there as part of Ecamm. It's just not activated by your Macintosh. Okay, so that is it's installed. You can also double check here that you're using it, where it says virtual cam ready under stream and record. We are not streaming right now, so I'm going to turn that off. And now we have set up Ecamm with, for instance, what I want to see inside of my Zoom call. So we're going to do Zoom first because that's one that a lot of people use. And one of the things, just to set it apart, I'm going to put my lower thirds on real quick. And then I'm going to tell it to stop once my name appears. Just so you can see that this is different than if you were just getting a camera feed. Kind of like what you see when you're looking at the screen here. Or if I go to here, you can see that lower thirds is gone, right? It's not there. That's because I'm not feeding it the Ecamm virtual camera in here. This is just the camera going directly into Ecamm. And you can see Zoom is really, there's, with the application itself, if you're familiar with Zoom, then you know that you have to set up your audio video preferences, and you can test all that stuff ahead of time. But the same rule applies that when you're going out to the internet and you have a microphone and you have some external speakers, remember that whole slapback thing that I was talking about a couple of lessons back applies here. Meaning if you talk into your microphone and somebody else has your sound playing back through their external speakers, that will go into their microphone and you'll hear yourself about a second or two later. Likewise, if I have my external speakers on, and if I talk, I'm sorry, if the guest talks, I will hear the guest, but then I'll capture the guest's audio in that microphone, and then it'll go back out into the presentation. So that's where the whole echo cancellation comes in. And fortunately, Zoom has that built in as well. Okay, let's go back to the laptop. And let's see. So let's go over to under Zoom here. I love how they love to plaster everything. So you can see when I recorded this, and if I click on my name, and then I go to settings, right? This is where I'm going to utilize the settings for my particular setup here. So if I go into video, right, it says camo camera, right? So it's pulling off of the camo camera directly. And that's not what we want. We want our Ecamm camera. So since virtual camera has been turned on, you can go to Ecamm Live Virtual Cam, and boom. Now you can tell that you're using Ecamm. That's why I put the graphic up, so you know that you're using Ecamm's feed instead of your direct camera feed. If you have a very simple scene set up with just a couple of graphic elements, make sure those are on. Then you know you can confirm that you have the Ecamm virtual camera. And that's it. That's all you have to set up here. Now, I will say this much. If you have a free Zoom account, in addition to the time limits that Zoom imposes on free accounts, it also imposes resolution limits on your feed. So I believe currently it's 720p. So even if you send Zoom a 1080p or higher resolution, it will scale down. So keep that in mind. If you get a professional account or one of the paid accounts, you can request through Zoom, you can say, I'm using Zoom via Ecamm Live and I need a higher resolution. And through their support team, there's no way to turn, right now, there's no way to check it on and off. You actually have to request it, which makes very little sense to me. It seems like a simple checkbox, but I guess they're trying to meter that right now, and they don't want everybody streaming at 1080p and racking their servers, because we can all do it now. I mean, most of everybody's cameras are minimum 1080p. Some do 720, obviously, but you know, it's just something that you have to request. Just keep that in mind. Okay, now here's where the real stickler comes in, and that's in the audio section. Now, audio with the particular way it's set up, like right now I've got my Ecamm Live virtual mic, which is working, right? Let me just go back and I'll say just same as system for the moment. So now this is picking up my MacBook Pro microphone, which remember is a no-no because it's right next to the fans. So I will go back to Ecamm Live virtual mic, which means that, again, all of my audio that I have set up in Ecamm, which includes things like the levels, all of that stuff will be controlled via Ecamm instead of any other method. So if you have videos that are playing or sound effects, you can control those relative to your voice here inside of Ecamm, and then it's just sent over to Zoom. So you don't have to touch anything in Zoom, but you do have to do some things. Okay, so by default, it might have things like automatically adjust microphone volume. Okay, if you set that on, it will adjust the microphones. It's they call it volume, but it's really the gain. It's like how much audio is it trying to extract. Like if you're talking very, very soft into it, it might boost the gain, but you might do that at the expense of noise in your overall presentation. So I just turn that off and I just crank it, especially since I'm controlling that through Ecamm, right? Also, it might say something under here. You see Zoom background noise removal. Now, the way Zoom works is actually, it's pretty smart in that it understands that most people don't know anything about audio. And so they have no concept of what it means. Like if you're at a Starbucks or some kind of coffee shop, or you got your kids running around, or you got noises from construction outside and stuff like that, what Zoom will automatically try to do is remove those background noises. Anything besides your voice, it'll try to remove, which is great in most circumstances. But in the way Ecamm works, if you're trying to play a sound effect or a movie, Zoom will also try and block those out. So if I were to click on the applause right now, let's see. Let me zoom out so you can see it. Okay. You see how that's coming through under sound effects. Now, if I set it to auto, which is the default, look at that. So notice my voice is working, but if I click applause again, I know that one chick at the end going, it's like, they got to get rid of that. Just applause. That's all we need. Just applause. See the difference? So first things first, I would set the background noise removal to low. Okay. And then underneath, I wouldn't even use personalized audio isolation. It doesn't, what it does is it takes a snapshot of your voice and then learns your voice as your voice, which means that even if you have somebody right next to you who has a different voice and is talking, Zoom will block them out. That's not always the case. You don't always want that, especially if you're trying to do like a team thing and you got one microphone, it's going to block out the other person. So if you're by yourself, yeah, you might want to, but I just leave that off because it's more computational power. Yeah. All right. There is original sound for musicians, and I would leave this, or I would turn it on, and then I would say high fidelity music and stereo audio. The echo cancellation option is really, it goes back to what we were talking about before, where the microphone will pick up audio coming in through your speakers and then broadcast it back out, or vice versa, depending. And you could have multiple people like that, and everybody's echoing all over the place. So it's best for most people to turn on echo cancellation, but you're a pro, so you can leave this off. And if you use your in-ear monitors, or if you're so inclined, your cans, you don't need to turn on echo cancellation. And what's nice about that is that you can talk while somebody else is talking to you. So you're not stepping over each other, right? Because what the software will try and do is block out, when you're talking, is to mute any audio coming in to your computer. And at the same time, it'll do it on the other person's computer as well. So I would leave this on for most of your Zoom guests if you're going to allow them to speak or talk during the seminar or whatever it is, the presentation that you're giving. I wouldn't necessarily do it just on your setup. I wouldn't do it unless you didn't have headphones or something like that. Please, please, please. All right, look. We talked about wireless versus wired and why you want to go wired in almost all circumstances. Here's one case where I'm willing to let wireless come into play, and that's if you're using like AirPods to listen, but you're still using an external microphone. You're not using the AirPods microphone, but you're using another microphone as your input. And why do that? Well, because the AirPods microphone sucks, and you don't want to sound like you're talking like this to people. You want to sound nice and clear. And that's the AirPods microphone is great for phone calls. It's terrible when you've got this high resolution image and this nice sound and everything. And then you start talking, it sounds like you're talking through a piece of clothing or a pillowcase. So I would recommend it at the very minimum getting, like the Rode mic or the Rode mic. The Rode mic was it the Video Go 2 or the Video Mic NTG as options. I also have from DJI, this is the original wireless mic system that they have. So this little guy you see right here is a wireless transmitter, and it has on the very top, it has a microphone. So you can clip it right here. I'm not a big fan of doing this. I also have a separate kind of light microphone like you see they use in studios and stuff that clips on right here, And then that allows me to use this microphone, which is much better sounding than the microphone that's on the AirPod. So if you want to listen, but you don't want to wear in-ear monitors or carry around a big set of headphones, then these DJI mics work great, and you can buy them nowadays. You can buy them the DJI Mic 2, which just recently came out as of me recording this. When I say recent, within the past 6 months, the DJI Mic 2, and there's also one from Shure, which is called the Move Mic. And then Rode also has one that is, they're all kind of similar, with the exception is the Rode is this, I don't have one in front of me, but it's you can look it up, the Rode wireless microphones. They're pretty big, and you need to use an external lavalier because, especially if you're wearing a dress or a blouse or something that's really light material, it's going to pull it down, and for obvious reasons. You don't necessarily want that during your presentation. So, and it just looks weird. It looks like, part of your shirt is getting tugged on by a little elf outside of the frame or something. So, anyway, that's all to say that echo cancellation is good if you're the average user. But again, you're using Ecamm. You're no longer the average user. You are now taking it up a notch. And that's why I recommend getting a pair of headphones that work well with Ecamm, and then also having an independent microphone. As a matter of fact, I've got a microphone running right now, and the reason why it says Ecamm Live Virtual Mic, I'm using one of these DJI mics, and it's right underneath this camera aimed right at me. And you can see it's picking up the audio just fine. And if I wanted to, I could run the cord and have the mic sitting here, but I don't need to do that. Okay, and so yeah, original sound for musicians, high fidelity music modes, stereo audio. I have not played around with live performance audio, but unless you have a band coming in to do like a studio gig, you probably don't need to worry about that. And besides, as of right now, it's currently in beta form. So there's that. And that's it. I mean, that's really everything else that's on here. You don't have to worry about. I mean, you got the ringtone volume. My speaker, I'm not going to have as my wireless. So if I were to plug in, I think it would switch over if I plug in my headphones. Let me try my in-ear monitors. Nope, it does not. So I'm going to go to external headphones. And so now when I test my speaker, this is what you should hear. Okay. That's what you want to hear. Now notice if I play it now, you can't hear it. You can only hear it here, which is what you want. And same thing, the microphone going out, the microphone does not hear this. And so you're not going to get any slapback. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, we're going to be doing a lunchtime video. I'm going to call it I'm going to call it some series where it's like an hour long deep dive into a particular just small chunk of Ecamm. That this will be one of those topics for sure, because audio seems to be one of those things that is kind of a mystery to a lot of people. And when you involve other products like the Rodecaster or any kind of mixer board, then it becomes a lot of black magic to some folks. And it's really not, but with a camera, it's quite clear. With a camera, you can see that it's working, right? But with audio, you're like, where is it going? And why is it not working the way it's supposed to? And then when you start blending audio sources, yeah, it can get overwhelming. So this being an entry-level course, we're not going to get into all those things, but it can get a lot more involved. I wouldn't say complicated. I really don't want to scare you into thinking that audio is hard. It's really not. You just have to understand the basics. You have to understand the terminology. And also that does actually bring up a really good point. echo cancellation. So an echo, in the terms of the way this is being presented, is really what's called slapback. And I want you to remember that term, slapback. Slapback means that the audio that's coming out of your system is getting slapped back to you, so you hear yourself talking. And it's usually a one-time loop. Echo is when you say echo, 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 and it slowly dissipates over time. That's not what's happening here. What's happening here is called slapback. And slapback is something like if you're looking for support through the Ecamm's Facebook page or through Discord server, and you have this one loop, or maybe even a faint one-time loop, that's slapback. And that, by the way, if you hear any audio, if you've got headphones on and you still hear slapback, your headphones are turned up too high. And that's, especially if you're wearing like this, where they should be sealed around your ears, but if there's any kind of leak for the audio to get out, it'll get picked up by a real good microphone, and you'll hear something that's really faint. And it's just it's a very faint slapback. Make sure those headphones are sealed or turn them down. Okay, so that is Zoom. And also, sometimes some of these settings won't be remembered session to session. And so in the upper right-hand corner of Zoom, there's a little option to turn them back on. So just remember that, because sometimes you'll start playing your sound effects again and nothing's coming through and you're like, what's going on? And you go back and you see that it's been defaulted. I don't know why Zoom decided to do that. Again, I think that they program for the lowest common denominator in terms of users, and that's the result, is that professional users or experienced users have to jump through hoops to get things to work the way they want it to. It's the way life is sometimes. Okay, so let's also talk about Microsoft Teams. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with Microsoft Teams, and if you work for Microsoft or you use Microsoft Teams, I'm sorry, I'm not. This is not made to offend you. I just think that the sign-up process and the using process is horrible. The user experience is just to get it. Like, I was locked in this loop the other night trying to get Teams to work, only to find out that you had to have a certain type of account to be able to use the desktop version, even though the Microsoft website kept telling me download the desktop version. So I was going through and I got all kinds of authorization codes and, all this stuff. And it was frustrating as hell. And so I think for the average user, if your IT department is setting up your Teams account, or you are that savvy that you can do it, getting it set up is probably the hardest part, but using it is actually not that bad. Let me show you. Okay, so let us get out of Zoom and just quit Zoom. I will go into Chrome. Oh, that's another thing. Microsoft Teams is not working Safari. Your browser is not supported. Download the Mac version. Okay. You can't use the Mac version unless you have a certain type of account. Jesus, what is it? All right. Let's see. Teams. Teams.microsoft.com. Hopefully it remembers me. Looks like it does. Okay. So I'm inside Teams. Thank God it remembered me. I don't have to go through a bunch of login passwords and all that other stuff. Once you get to this screen, you're golden. I mean, you really are. You're good. But of course, you have to set up your audio and video just like you did inside of Zoom. The settings are a little bit easier, believe it or not. Getting to this point is the hard part. Once you're in, you're in there. So You can see general. You can see your accounts. You can, I mean, basically all the things that you've got set up, like for accounts, you can manage all these things. Okay. Now this is where you would think this is where your settings are, but the reality is your settings are not here. So the way to do it is you go and you click on the little camera icon that is inside of Teams, right above your chat here. You click that and say start a meeting. And then you have audio settings, and then it says custom setup. Okay, fine. Microphone. So right now it's using the MacBook Pro built-in microphone. We don't want that. We want the Ecamm Live virtual mic. Now you may have, your list is probably going to look different than mine, you know, because I have a bunch of Rode stuff installed, but I'm not sure why, you know, those show up when I don't have the Rode mic plugged in at the moment, but they do. And then my video settings, Ecamm Live virtual camera. It might default to your camo camera or whatever camera you may have hooked up. Elgato, the virtual camera, that's another product. Okay, so I have other cameras available in here. And of course, I'm going to use the Ecamm Live virtual camera, which is what I want. And it doesn't show up here. Well, why is that? Well, because it has to be turned on. And again, we know it is the Ecamm Live virtual camera because I've got my Ecamm Live graphic in here. And now I'm ready to start a meeting. I don't understand why Microsoft doesn't allow you to set these things up ahead of time. This is just the way it is. Now, this may be the way it is in the web browser version. The desktop version might work differently, but this is why I'm saying I don't see this as a viable platform for most Ecamm users unless this is something that you are required to use by either your company or the clients that you're working with. Just know that your options are going to be a little bit limited. But because, for instance, I have no audio meters here, I have no idea what's getting through, what's not getting through. I just don't know. So yeah, there's that. I do know that I'm getting audio out here, and so that's going to, I know that that's going to make it. But again, I don't know what Teams is hearing right now, and I don't know how high it is or how low it may be. So there's that. Also, you might notice this this thing here where it says, you know, possible audio feedback detected. So it's possible. Well, if you're using your in-ear monitors, then no, it's not possible. You've got your microphone, and so if I play my sound effects, right? So the sound effects right now are going through the Macintosh. So how do I fix that? How do I have it so that they're playing through here and they're not playing through my microphone, so I can't hear it on the microphone? Well, this would be the case when you would actually use echo detection. And if you turn that on, now it might take a couple of seconds. You'll notice that the volume bar is kind of stuck here. But once it's on, now if I click play, testing, see, it's doing a really good job of preventing echo or slapback. So I don't need this right now because we're not using that, and I'll forget to turn it off, and then I'll wonder why my audio is not performing the way I expect. All right, so that's Teams. Teams is, like I said, it's not something that I would recommend for the average user, but that's not for me to decide. That's for you. I'm just saying in terms of the controllability, Zoom has much more capabilities built in than Teams does, and because I don't have access to the desktop version, I'm only using the web-based version. There may be other settings that are available on the desktop version. I don't know, but if you're required to use it, this is how you go in. You start a meeting, click on settings, set up your camera and your virtual mic, and then you're good to go. All right. Last one, we'll go back here. And yeah, notice it's a challenging app to get running. It really is. I mean, I don't know why it's so hard to get running correctly. But it's just that Microsoft is so big and it's been around for so long and the infrastructure is so deep that they have all these different places that you have to go to get things to work. Notice that it went to teams.live.com, but I started out at teams.microsoft.com. So it's redirecting me to different URLs. And yeah, it's like, and then you log in and is it this the right account? What if I have an Xbox Live account? Is it the same account? All this stuff, right? It's just, it can be a bit of a pain in the butt. All right. Speaking of pains in the butt, let's talk about Discord. Now, Discord actually, that's not too fair. Discord has gotten much, much better thanks to the integration of the virtual camera and mic in Ecamm. And so now when you use Discord, it should all work. It is not flawless. Discord has tons of little audio and video quirks that they work on. I mean, you can tell every time you launch the app, it feels like every day there's new updates being downloaded and then applied. And so they are working on it. But in terms of Ecamm's priority within Discord's feature list, we're pretty low. And it's just because a lot of people use Discord for gaming and other more, I don't know, fun things. I think this is fun, but playing games and talking with people that way. But Discord has a great group chat feature that allows you to have audio video. So you can conduct what looks a lot like a Zoom meeting, but you're inside Discord's network. If you've never used Discord before, it is like using a chat application, but it's organized by what they call servers, which are essentially companies or interest groups, or it's just topics that you are interested in subscribing to. And then within those servers, they have channels, and those channels are defined by the server, meaning if you're only interested in one particular topic from that group, from that server, you can pay attention to that topic, and that topic is called a channel. And then they have channels within Discord. Each server could potentially have a meeting channel, and sometimes multiple meeting channels that allow customers or gamers or whoever to get together and talk. I follow one for this guy who's, for instance, he's in Japan and he does live broadcasts from Japan almost daily. And he has a Discord server set up just for him. And his entire user base contacts him, even though he's on YouTube, he live streams to YouTube, they contact him through Discord. And when he has his monthly meetups where he talks live to his subscribers, he's using Discord. So Discord is a relatively newish tool for peeps like us, who are, if you've never used Discord before, it's okay. You don't have to, but know this. Ecamm has its own Discord server, which we're going to take a look at. And then one of the things you can do, every now and then, Ecamm will host live meetups on their Discord server. So that's a way to talk to staff, to talk to some of the personalities that work for Ecamm. It's a way to meet with some of the contractors. And sometimes it's just a way to meet with other people who are Ecamm users and see them face to face. It's actually kind of funny that goes back to the days of the pandemic, where a lot of the folks who got to use Ecamm and got on Ecamm during the pandemic really didn't meet each other in real life, IRL. You'll see that from time to time. until 2023. So for 3 years, they'd only seen each other on a 2D screen, which is kind of ironic that they had all these tools, they had these capabilities, but they actually didn't really meet each other. And there's something about that personal presence that is a totally different experience, obviously, that they missed out on for 3 years. Through Discord, they were doing a lot of that. So I'm pointing to my teleprompter, by the way, because that's the way I look at Discord groups, as I'm talking into my teleprompter. Okay, so let's go back to the laptop and use some Discord. And we will go, so I don't have Discord on my toolbar, so I'll type it in. Discord. Oh, by the way, you might notice that I'm a little bit zoomed in on Camo here. See that? I turned on, Camo has a feature that allows it works a lot like digital cameras in terms of stabilization. So now if I rock my laptop a little bit, I mean, the screen is actually moving a lot more than you can tell right now. That you can adjust the sensitivity of that. But what it does is it actually crops the frame in, and there's an outside frame that you never see, that it will shift the image automatically, and it shifts with the amount of motion going on. Like I said, a lot of digital cameras they call it, stabilization, automatic stabilization, in-body stabilization, that kind of stuff. Those are the things that Camo actually has access to. And it's pretty cool. And that's another one that I'll probably do like a crash course on Camo, because I think there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it. Okay, back to Discord. Now I'll just give you a brief overview of the window here. So if I'm on my Ecamm Live, as you can see over here, these are your groups or channels, I'm sorry, not channels. Gotta be careful here. These are the servers that you are subscribed to. And you can group them like this. And of course, that little number that's in red is like anything else on a Mac. It's a notification. And I've got 6 here. I've got 27 here. And I bet that part of it is that guy in Japan. He's probably responsible for, yes, he's responsible for all 27. So I'm on the Ecamm server right now, and you can see channels and roles. There's a server guide. So if you're interested in knowing how to navigate Ecamm server, you can go to the server guide, and there's tutorials here how to do it. And then there's channels and roles, and here it's got some settings here like what categories apply to you, blah blah blah. This is just for Ecamm to get to know you and what you're interested in. And then based on that, you'll see a number of channels over to the side here. And these channels represent, there's a ton of them that represent, like you can see here, like in the family room. So again, Ecamm fam, that's a thing. In the family room, there's a perk section. And when there are new perks available, there will be those perks available. So Ecamm works really hard to work with outside vendors, outside companies, to provide us Ecamm users with either subscription discounts or free trials that last beyond what the normal free trial would be, just to give us a little bit more flexibility in us figuring out if we are going to find the software useful or not. So I would definitely recommend looking at this section here. Here is the rec room. Okay, so you can see here's channels, perks. You notice that there's a little icon. It's got like a megaphone on it. That is an announcement channel. That's not something that you necessarily contribute to. That's just for ways for them to broadcast out information. The channels, the ones that have a little pound sign, hashtag, next to them, these are the ones where you can have active discussions. And there's another broadcast. And then here you can see this guy is the rec room, and the rec room is where a lot of folks meet and talk, usually post presentation. So if somebody on Ecamm is giving a presentation, Doc Rock is very well known for this. He'll say, I'll meet you in the Discord after the show. And then people who want to participate can get in and talk to him live after the show. And, you know, it's a good way to introduce yourself to the community if you're new. And don't be shy. I mean, we all started somewhere. So don't be shy of getting on to Discord or chatting inside YouTube. Just be professional, understand the rules. I talk like I know there's some Ecamm users who know me and they're like, be professional. What are you talking about, Jeremy? I tend to be the joker in the room because I like, for me, my philosophy has always been, and I hope yours is similar to this, is that if it's not fun, it's not worth doing. And I just don't like being so focused on the fact that, you know, this is work, that I tend to be a little bit more lighthearted than a lot of people. And, you know, maybe sometimes a little too much, but it's a strength and a weakness. It's my kryptonite, you know. So you see here, craft rooms, streamers, producers, and anytime there's a new channel update, you'll see it's bold like this, like educators, and then people who are in the education space, like yours truly. There is a way for the educators to get together and discuss particular topics that they're interested in. They have other discussions about gear, audio, lighting, video, and people will respond to this. I see there being more and more activity around these channels as I've been using Ecamm longer and longer. It's an acquired taste, so to speak, and it also is something unique in its experience. So there are some people on Discord that have been on there for a very long time, and they try and be helpful, but, you know, sometimes you might get called out for doing something that you shouldn't be doing or violates community standards or whatever they want to say. So just be cognizant. Always follow the server rules, especially when it comes to certain types of discussion, certain types of words that you can use, and then obviously topics you can discuss, and even things like self-promotion and trying to sell used products. There are places on the Ecamm server for that. So this is all to say that I think Discord is one of those venues where we'll start to see more and more activity as Facebook continues to flail and figure out what it is that they want to be to people, because you know, as of this recording, Facebook is set to turn off live streaming to groups. Now, there will be workarounds, I'm sure, but you won't be able to, if you've set up a group and you want to do a live stream from Ecamm to that group, Facebook is disabling that. Why? We don't, I mean, there's been no reason given. We can make guesses, like they want to keep people on their platform, or they want to control things, or it's their server resources and they can choose what to do, what they want with them. I get all that, but there's been no explanation given. So people are looking for other venues to have similar types of discussions, in which, by the way, you can set up your own Discord server, which is a lot like a Facebook group, but way more targeted. Instead of having one long, continuous stream of thought like Facebook has, you can have these separate channels. So if you're just talking about, like, I follow a lot of, being from Louisiana, I follow a lot of the New Orleans-based groups on Facebook and Louisiana focus groups, and it's just a mishmash of stuff. And be really cool to find similar types of Discord servers that provided that. I'm sure there are, I just haven't looked, but provided this in a much more succinct manner. And that way, you know, people can have a little bit clearer access to things. Like if you just want to share recipes, or you're talking about a festival coming up or whatever, you know, that's Discord's great for that. And I know for the Rainy Cajun podcast that I do, that particular podcast, we're going to set up a Discord server when we have time, and that'll be organized into sections. And then one of the sections that we will have is a way for our community of viewers to meet with us live and have a discussion with us live. So a lot of times when they say a live chat, what it means is I get on camera and chat with you, but then you have to type your response, and there's often a delay. And if I'm not reading the computer, I can go off on a tangent, kind of like what I'm doing right now, talking about Discord instead of the settings, but the settings are pretty easy. So I'm just trying to introduce you a little bit to Discord, but we will do a full deep dive on Discord because I think it's important for you to understand how to use it as an Ecamm user. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. You can do little upgrades that have your avatars look animated and fun, stuff like that. And they'll keep trying to get you to buy it, but you don't have to do any of that stuff. Okay, so let's go back into down at the bottom here, and you can see here's my avatar, here's my name, that's my handle, and then there's user settings. I click that, and now you can see mine's pretty basic, but if I go to down here to voice and video, click on that. Now, what I've got is what would normally be default. This is the defaults. I haven't changed anything. I've got my other Mac set up with everything I need it for doing Discord, but I've not set up this Mac. So you and I get to experience it together. So your input device. In this case, we're going to use the Ecamm Live virtual mic. Now, in most cases, you won't want to have to have Ecamm running to use the microphone, but since you're already going to be using it to do your audio, your video, then why not? Just might as well. Output device, external headphones for sure. Trust me, this group is a lot less forgiving about slapback audio. So, and I can do a mic test. Now, testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. And I'm sure it's playing through my headphones here. And it would tell you if it's not picking up anything. Clearly, it is picking up something because I had the bar moving there. All right. Input mode, voice activity or push to talk. What that means is there is a push to talk button. So if you want to have it just muted all the time, but when you want to talk, you can push that button and talk and then let up on it. That way you're not caught with a hot mic. It's been known to happen to some people. So, you know, you might want to think about that. I leave mine set to voice activity, and I use the mute functions on my microphone if I don't want people to hear me for some reason. There's also a mute setting. When you're in a live chat, you can mute yourself, kind of like what you can do in Zoom or even Teams. You can turn off your microphone. So the push to talk is really if you're having weird audio funkiness. Input sensitivity, I just leave this on. Everything else I leave on. You can, if you want to, you can turn, if you're using a Rodecaster Pro 2, and that's another discussion. We will have a class on that, or a couple of classes on that. But if I turn this off now and I can drag this all the way, it basically means, whoops, if I do that, it's always on. So there is no like shut off any outside background noise. And the reason why I do that is because on my Rodecaster, it has what's called a noise gate on it. And then I don't have to, I let the software on the Rodecaster handle blocking out external noises. So normally when somebody talks, like in Zoom or in Discord, there'll be like a green or some kind of highlight around that person's thumbnail, this is how you would do it. If you had sensitivity turned on, then when you're not talking, your little highlight goes off. But if you have it turned off and you have this slid all the way over to the left, it'll be a constant highlight around your thumbnail. Just keep that in mind. Okay, and then under video settings, you want to pick your camera. So I've got all my cameras just like I would in any other application. Ecamm Live virtual camera, test the video. And yes, allow. And boom, there we are. So now I've got my Ecamm camera. Now, chances are the likelihood of you doing actual presentations inside Ecamm via Discord are, well, I don't see a ton of it. Discord seems to be a lot more like kind of off the cuff, just, let's just talk and let's just go. And it's a lot less refined and prepared, kind of like Zoom has become, certainly Teams. So I wouldn't necessarily say that you need to be using the Ecamm virtual camera. However, if you've made any kind of settings inside of Ecamm, for instance, this is just an example. It's not something that I would recommend, but let's say I want to pixelate my face, okay? For whatever reason, witness protection program, right? So I want to take this and I'm going to make the shape a circle and do that, right? And then I'm going to set my fill from a gradient to pixelate. And now this is what you see, right? And I can really pixelate it like that. So now inside of, I mean, come on, but you could do that. You could totally do that. Or you could just, you could use Ecamm to control the brightness and the contrast and all those things that you can't do inside of Discord. You could use Ecamm for that. You could also use Camo for that, but Camo doesn't have some of these special effects like the pixelate, or if I wanted to change it to, blur, and it would blur me out, that kind of thing. If I wanted to go back to the camera effects here, picture settings, and drop my brightness down, right? Drop my gamma down and saturation. I go like almost black and white. All right. This is pretty mysterious looking, but this is what you would see inside of course, I got my name on there. I just realized that I got my name on the screen, but you get what I'm saying? You can use the effects inside Ecamm to make it work in Discord. So it's just kind of fun. All right, so I'm gonna reset that because I don't want that, and I don't want to blur my beautiful mug. I spent a lot of money to have this look so nice on camera. Okay, I mean not on my face, but cameras. Okay, and I believe that's it for Discord. So this is the extent of it. Now there are other platforms that you can stream to. But that's streaming to those platforms, and we will discuss those in the final lesson, which will include other platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and I'll just show you how those work. We're not going to go into a whole lot of detail because it can get overwhelming pretty quickly, especially if you start talking about portrait mode versus landscape, because we've been on landscape this whole time, but you can use portrait if you want. And if you go to Instagram, it's a little bit more complicated. So I'm just going to show you the basics of how you can set it up. But as far as like all the details and everything, we're going to take some time we'll have that as a whole nother lesson, because I think it warrants it. And then there is talk about Zoom integration inside of Ecamm that's going to go above and beyond. And so as a result, when it goes to that level, we want to have a discussion about that. And that'll be probably a whole course, or at least a short course too. So this constitutes the bulk of the overall series. Now, what's coming up in the final lesson that you can't play hooky from, you got to watch it to get your certificate of completion. And I do send those out. I don't market that too much, but I do send those out to everybody who's completed the course, because you've spent a lot of time going through this. And that is, let's see, I've got my list up here. This one's going to be kind of interesting. So we're gonna look ahead at what kinds of things you can be doing. Also, where you're going to get help, where you're going to find yourself if you need support versus just general conversation with other users. And we looked at Discord. Of course, Facebook is going to be one of those places as well. And then we're going to talk about how you back up your profiles, and then where do you store your assets? What's the best way to store your assets? And when I say assets, I mean all the elements that go into making your Ecamm show or your Ecamm presentation organized, so you can, when you're done, you can archive it and then put it up on a server somewhere. And if you ever need to access those files, you have access to them. I don't ever delete stuff, and that's probably why I have terabytes of hard drives in my studio, because I keep everything just in case. You never know. So I guess in that way I'm a digital hoarder, but at the same time, it takes up so little space that it's not a big deal. You don't have to climb over things to get to my data. I'll give you some more hardware recommendations. I don't typically endorse any one particular piece of hardware because it's always changing. Some companies produce really good hardware but have really poor customer service, or they have poor policies. So, and you don't want to tick these guys off, because it's not that I don't want to make people unhappy with me. It's just that you got to keep things kind of professional, and even if they're not, I think it's my duty to remain professional in my opinion on certain things. So, and I've experienced a lot. I've ordered from all the various companies that are involved in the audiovisual business, and I've even gone with used, like Craigslist type stuff in Facebook Marketplace, and they've all had different experiences. And but we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about the hardware that I use, and then suggestions for what you can be looking into if you still haven't spec'd that out. Hopefully this gives you something to chew on and something to mull over before you go full time. So we'll get into that in the next and final lesson of this incredibly long series. But you are getting close. I mean, you're almost there. You're basically, you can see the finish line. And this is the kind of thing where we would normally have a pizza party at the end, but you're there and I'm here, so we'll just have to order our own pizzas and enjoy them together. All right, so I'll see you next time. And until then, if you need to, go back and review any of this stuff. As usual, if you have questions, ask them, and I'll be more than happy to give you whatever answers I may have, and we'll solve your problems together. Ecamm problems. All right, take care.